If you love politics, I guess this is a great time for you. It's like going to Disney. Yeah. And the congressional race is beginning to heat up, just like the thermometer. And we have a debate that's scheduled for June 13th. That'll be here on the radio starting at 8 a.m. It's a Monday, 2 weeks from this Monday. And on the line right now is George Phillips, congressional candidate, NY22. George, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on the show.
So, first of all, I just want to talk about, it's an interesting dynamic, this Republican primary. And, I was talking strategy with somebody last night for a while on this whole thing, and it's tough to pinpoint because you being from the Binghamton area, and you've got Wells from Cazenovia and Claudia Tenney in this area. It's a very interesting dynamic, and with a three-person race, it's always a challenge. Have you? I know we've been talking policy, but let's talk politics a little bit. How do you see this working out in terms of three people all vying for the votes here?
We're trying to connect with every voter, or just to give a little excitement to your listeners. I know we're really excited for the June 13th debate, but we have a TV commercial. If they want to check out our Facebook, it's going to be on today.
Okay.
It talks about my roots as a teacher. But talks about key issues. I know you said you want to talk politics a little more, but just policy and politics overlap. People want a jobs plan. We've talked about that. People are fed up about this mess on the border. I've really linked it to the heroin crisis and securing the border. And then an alternative, I want a dynamic market of choice and more choices for all Americans for health care. I think they'll love the spot. And I've got a joke just to hype up some excitement for it. A lot of my students weren't acting. They were just being themselves, and they did a great job in it. So I think the voters are going to like our commercial. It's going to be a way of connecting with them. But we all have the challenge of connecting with all the voters, trying to connect with all the voters in all 8 counties here.
And I look at you as the nice guy of the whole thing, because you do seem like genuine. Not that Stephen Wells isn't a nice guy, and not that Claudia Tenney isn't a nice guy, lady, but the fact is, you come off in that way that you just seem like a nice guy through this whole thing. And
can I comment on that?
And I would have a hard time seeing you hammer, although you kind of hammered her a little bit the last time you were in it. It seemed to be. But go ahead, comment on any of that.
Yeah, no, I certainly believe in speak softly but carry a big stick, and we peace through strength. As at my school, I've served as dean of students, and really order, strength, discipline. This summer I had the chance to teach up by Ithaca. It was called the McCormick Secure Center. It was a maximum security youth detention facility. And so I don't want voters to mistake my light demeanor for someone who's a nice guy. That's great. I like to think I'm nice, but the same time I'm a vigorous, I'll be a vigorous, relentless advocate for the citizens here. And I am really tough. It was something this summer I wish I could put into words of my experience in the maximum security youth prison. But we had gang members, and they were tough, and they'd yell and scream and get in your face. And I'm not going to be intimidated by the lobbyists and politicians in Washington. I'm going to do what's best. I'm going to be a relentless advocate.
Well, it's interesting because they both can be punks. I guess when you look at it, if you can handle them, then you're in pretty good shape. Manaski has
watch the ad.
All right, we'll watch the commercial. All right, Manaski has an interesting political question.
Yeah, it's been an observation. I think many people have seen this that Wells will target Tenney and you target Tenney, where it almost seems like between you and Steve Wells, you almost operate as though that person doesn't exist. You have your sights set on Claudia Tenney. I know she had that poll out that, and it was done by she paid for it, but she was so far out ahead. Do you even consider Stephen Wells a challenger? Do you take him into account? And I wonder if he does the same for you.
Look, I'm focusing on the issues here. You're mentioning me with Claudia Tenney. I was responding to this frivolous lawsuit that she had on me, and I know she was on your show right around the time I was. She said she wasn't involved in the suit. She's the plaintiff in the suit. And it was, as I'd said to listeners, about the rights of the sick and disabled to take part in the political process. If you look at the ruling the judge handed out, he cited my own words in which I said I was standing up for the rights of the sick and disabled. So I want to focus on issues and make the case to the voters that I'm the strongest on leading on plans, on my upstate jobs plan, tax and regulatory relief on the federal level that the state has to match, that will hopefully help our small businesses in Utica and throughout the district, and hopefully bring and encourage private sector investment in some of the high-tech projects we have in the Mohawk Valley, whether it be the Nano Labs in Utica area or going over to the Griffiths Technology Park in the Rome area. So I really am focused on the issues. I know that exchange, so to speak, with Claudia Tenney was about this really unfortunate lawsuit that I was responding to. So I'm focused on debating with both of the candidates, but really at the end of the day, I want them to pick me, to vote for me and say, wow, George Phillips is the guy who really knows the issues, who's going to do a great job in Washington. So that's our strategy. If you want to get into policy, I haven't been talking about Steve or Claudia because they could speak for themselves. Assemblywoman Tenney can speak for themselves about their records, and I think voters want something more. That's why they're so upset and down and have embraced these outsiders on the presidential level.
I'm going to just throw you some just quick shotgun stuff. I got about 2 minutes here, and just on some national issues. What are your thoughts on the president going to, of course, going to Vietnam and now opening the door for arms sales, and then at Hiroshima? All of this coming up on Memorial Day weekend. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, if I could pivot, and I'll get to those two very quickly, but Memorial Day weekend, veterans are very, very, very dear to my heart. I serve for the chairman of the Veterans Committee. I'm an American history teacher. I love veterans, and I wanted to just put a plug in for our veterans or our folks in Utica. Former Veterans Secretary Tony Principi is going to campaign for me in Utica on D-Day, June 6th. Wow. So details will follow on Facebook. Very disappointed about the arms sales to Iran. They're still a communist country that has a very poor human rights record. And if you look at Hiroshima, war was awful. As Wellington said, who defeated Napoleon, the only thing worse than winning a war is losing one. But President Truman made the right decision to save lives there, and I think it does send the wrong message, the so-called apology tour that Obama's been on really these 8 years. We are freedom's indispensable nation. When we step back, these human rights abusers like Vietnam, things get worse in Cuba and the Middle East. We see the world on fire. I want to lead with peace through strength, and I do believe that America is freedom's indispensable nation. And, just a shout-out to our veterans on this Memorial Day weekend and an invite to veterans in Utica. We don't have the location nailed down yet. We'll probably at one of the legions, but former Veterans Secretary Tony Principi is going to be campaigning with me on June 6th. All
right, staying with, moving quickly, the issue of Hillary Clinton's email server.
Just awful. No one's above the law, and she really took things outside of the law and thought that she took this elitist attitude on it. And I do think national security was compromised, and I do think that she'll have to pay a price and ultimately be up to the voters. But I'm assuming the FBI is doing their due diligence and trying to keep it out of the political process. But very unfortunate. And again, it's this elitist attitude that people are sick of.
And as long as we're staying on that, the Benghazi issue, let's call a spade a spade. When they came out and they said it was the video, clearly it was about Obama's presidency, and they were trying to show that the country was safe and that this wasn't an attack, a terrorist attack. So coming out and you can call it a lie, call it what you want. What is your take on all of that, and how responsible should she be, and how much should that play a role in people's decision-making process when they vote in November?
Yeah, clearly there was asks by the State Department for extra support. They didn't get it. I do think that's something she's always going to regret personally, that Americans died under her watch. And I want to pivot again. What are we doing to defeat ISIS? We need a nothing in, nothing out embargo, no oil being sold in the black market, no looted goods. Let's strangle the beast over there, and let's have a plan to beat Iran as well. This was just awful to give $150 billion to tyranny and terrorism as we release their assets on this really poor Iran deal. Let's engage the resistance, and I think we can have a safer world using smart power, U.S. power. We don't have to be involved in every war here, but what we can do is be smart and strategic. We could strangle ISIS. We could engage the resistance in Iran. We could call out bad actors like Vietnam and Cuba instead of what the president is doing right here. Right. And I think it does matter. The more the world is free, it's going to be safer, more prosperous for the United States as well, and our citizens.
Last one, social issues. And really, America is polarized, and a lot of that has to do with the many social issues that have come out of the last 8 years. What do you think on that?
Sure. I think we have to look at the dignity in each person and try to speak with love and compassion on these issues. And, you look at issue, whether gay rights and relations, and we have the Supreme Court ruling, or abortion. Let's speak with love on this. We're going to disagree, but I know that there's millions of women who have had abortions, and I know that there's many people who have family members and loved ones who are gay. So can we have values? I'm conservative. I'm pro-life, and I was not happy with the Supreme Court decision, but it happened, and I certainly recognize it and respect each person. So can we have a gentler tone and speak with love and compassion for all people, and try to touch some of those wounded hearts as politicians, instead of just bringing them into the fray and we're against this person, that. Why can't we be pro-woman and be pro-compassion on these issues, and pro for all these people who might be struggling with certain gender issues?
All right. Very interesting. This debate's going to be extremely interesting. By the way, how many? I know we have ours. I believe WTR has one scheduled. How many do you see when this is all said and done will you participate in?
Oh, boy, I love debates. I'd love to do as many as possible. I know every day my staff is updating me. We've got one here, one there, so we're getting a lot of invites. I'm really looking forward to getting down to the issues with the voters. I really appreciate the time on this show here.
All right. We appreciate it. George Phillips, thanks so much for the time.
Hey, thanks. You have a great day.
And have a great weekend. A
Okay,
busy weekend for anybody in the political world with the parades and everything else. Again, George, thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We'll hopefully be in touch soon.
We'll break and come right back here with Bill Morehouse and all the ins and outs of what went down with Hotel Utica. Big news for Hotel Utica, the iconic hotel in the city, and it seems like there's a new chapter about to begin here. Coming right back at WIBX.